and all that.
Impossible to be even out of your parents' house. I think your question should be what's wrong with Singaporeans.
But is driving in Singapore, the standard of driving in Singapore, very much different from, don't compare to the West now, different from the countries in the region, in Bangkok, in Indonesia?
China's the worst.
It is so much better than China.
Yes. From 3 lanes, you become 5 lanes.
Yeah.
You just
Okay.
go in opposing
So are you
China's
saying
wild.
we're not that bad?
Oh, we are way better than them.
Agree.
Does that make us...
Oh yeah, China, I mean, your life is in your hands on the road.
And in China, you hear honking all the time. Like, yeah.
Okay.
It's
And
like,
do they respect the cyclists?
No.
No,
okay, I went
But there are
to-
thousands of them there.
not so much
Not so many
anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, if you went in, we first went in 1990 something, 94, full of cyclists, very few cars. Now, no cyclists. Lots
Okay,
of
how
cars.
about Bangkok?
Bangkok, they're quite polite. The traffic is very
Bad
chaotic,
traffic, yeah,
but they
yeah.
seem
Bad
to be
traffic.
very calm, and they let people in. I was very impressed. Even in Malaysia, for all that we complain about Malaysian drivers here because they have a kind of swaggering style, they merge. You were talking about merging. I was in Malaysia last week, and they merged so beautifully. It was one car after another. No hooting, no honking, no shoving, no pushing.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Who's been to Indonesia?
Oh, that's
All right.
something else again.
What do you think?
I think it's a mixture of bad traffic and also bad behavior, but it's still it's like organized chaos.
They're more
You can
skilled.
feel it,
They're
yeah.
more skilled behind the wheel.
Maybe because they've been experiencing congestion for a longer time.
What do you mean by
already.
organized chaos? Are you saying that although there's a lot of problems on the road, there are fewer accidents because they know how to conduct
Yeah, like
themselves
what
in
No,
a
I think they're more in
situation?
control of their car. Because here you see it very often. You'll have somebody driving a big SUV, and they have to go through a space, and they can't. They look like, oh no, cannot. But then a bigger car will pass through the space, and so you know that your car can go through, and they'll still sit there. No, I can't.
They probably have
You
more
know-
experience dealing. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
They have
no.
more experience dealing with the congestion.
Yeah.
Like Singapore only started getting congested in the last 5 years, maybe.
Yeah, and
So-
I think the incidence of traffic accidents have risen in the last few years.
Yeah, and instead of saying like, okay, I think we are getting worse at driving, it becomes more like, oh, you have too many cars on the road, do something about it.
We just complain.
Yeah, correct.
Also, in all these other countries, they have countryside. It's not just city driving. You know, they have a variety of roads and conditions which we do not encounter. You know, and for those you need a level of skill that you don't see here.
Can I ask then, how can we create a better, safer environment? How can we improve on the driving standards in
Well,
Singapore?
if you're talking about environment, it's beyond the driver's control.
But they
You
make the
cannot create a
environment.
safe environment because environment is not in your hands. We have constructions, we have dangerous drivers, we have reckless, we have cyclists who don't obey traffic laws and all that. So now back to us, what are we going to do about it? But we cannot
Yeah.
change their style, we cannot change
Why?
their environment.
Can't you modify their behavior?
It's beyond your control.
I think
You
it's
can't
a
change
culture.
human.
I think it's a
Yeah,
culture.
you cannot
But
change
humans
the...
in other countries manage just fine to follow the rules,
Yeah,
don't they?
I feel like it's a culture thing, and it starts with you. Like, I agree and disagree. I agree that it should begin with us, that when we take the initiative to be a better driver, we influence other drivers. Yeah, I think for now Singaporeans, I agree with like, it's everybody's like rushing to everywhere. Everybody have this perspective of other drivers, like thinking that, oh, if I give way, I lose out. But actually maybe it's not what they are thinking. I think it begins with how we must seek to really be a better driver in whether it's more courteous or, yeah.
What's the incentive? We need incentives here.
Well, the incentive is to create a better environment for Singapore.
Surely
to
the
be
incentive is to
driving.
get home without,
Yeah,
you know,
like
Without killing yourself. If you hang back, okay, and the traffic doesn't come, you have to stop, start, because that slows down traffic. If traffic keeps moving, albeit much slower, you actually get to your destination faster. How many times have you been in a situation where you're going steadily, you know, in a lane, and you see some car, you know, kind of shoots past, goes in, and you know, and you get to the exit, and that car is next to you. It hasn't gone anywhere faster than you.
One example is, I think in accidents, you know, when one lane is closed, usually they say, you know, why it's so congested. It's because people has been trying to like cut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If you try to squeeze to the
But
end,
if
it's worse.
they just remain on the same lane and you just drive, it's actually much smoother than if they are trying to cut into each other's lane.
But do you teach that actually? No lane
Do
switching.
you explain to young new drivers, you know, the reason that you put your indicator on is for this. The reason that you should hang back, accelerate, change gear, change lane is this. Because I sometimes think they
No,
don't
but I
know.
want to ask Faisal whether
Sorry.
actually you teach that.
Oh, believe me, we teach more than it should.
No,
We
then
go
they
the-
shouldn't switch lanes.
No. We teach them to be qualified drivers. That we teach them everything actually. We teach them how to behave, how to react to hazards, and how to and what are the checkings that you need to do and all that. We
Then
teach them
are they
everything.
bad students?
But once they pass, whether they continue this, that's
Okay.
another thing. That's beyond the school control. That's a human behavior.
See,
Is it?
but why? I disagree with you there because I mean I went to school here, right? I went to my whole 10 years of education was here, right? And I think driving, we're taught the same way as we're taught in school. You're taught to follow a rubric and to pass the test. Nobody mentioned. I mean, I only did a few driving lessons here, but a lot of the time I felt that admittedly I did private lessons, but I felt that they told me to do things and follow a certain procedure without taking into account the actual situation. And it's all very well, you know, for classroom subjects where you go, okay, right, I'm going to follow the rules, apply the formula, and get this result, and then I get my A. But if driving is different and the road conditions will
Okay.
change, it's not the same thing.
I think that's a very important point, because I think that we seem to be doing things right as far as instruction is concerned. Now it's a translation at that point when they leave the school and they're on their own and they start driving on their own. Maybe some of the lessons that they learned in school has not been carried through. So there is a gap there that we must pay attention to. It's like, I mean, I'm in media and it's like taking some of the polytechnic students that are trained academically, then when they have to actually put it into practice, there is a gap that has to be bridged before they can become effective media production people. So I do not know whether anybody and whether there's a need to pay attention to that gap between the training and when they're on the road, because then when they mix up with other drivers that are very rude and very aggressive, they have to be the same way in order to survive.
You
Yeah.
don't. That's a terrible thing to say. That's a real indictment of human nature. You don't have to be bad like somebody else.
No, but
in
I'm
order
saying
to-
that gap there is when they move from school to actual driving, that transition, something happens to change them. I'd like to go through each of you so that you can comment on it. That between the instruction and the actual practicing of driving, is there a need to ensure that the lessons are not forgotten? Is there a gap
yes.
there?
Yeah, if you see, here's the thing. Here's the problem that actually we are kind of facing, because some drivers they pass through private instructors, but there are some drivers who learn under school. But I'm from the school and I know the comprehensive training. It's everything you need to know about driving, about being a safe driver, and of course the requirement about passing the test. So if you can drive and you drive safely and defensively, there's no reason that you should not pass the test. Because what it shows in
No,
your
but
driving.
having passed the test, like what Morag says, what happened? You train them just to pass the test, or do you
No,
train
passing the
them
test is
be-
to drive safely. If you don't drive safely, you won't pass the test. So if you want to pass the test, you need to show that you are a safe
Or to
driver.
drive safely? I thought passing the test was more to be technically proficient.
That's one thing. That's correct. And of course, you
Okay.
have to show in your driving. For example, approaching a junction, even though it's a green light, you are expected to slow down. It's a green light. Why are you not slowing down? So if you are not slowing down, you will be given points. So if you accumulate a lot of points, you won't pass the test. So basically, passing the test is to show safe driving and defensive driving.
Okay.
You see? So, but the thing is that once they pass and they get their license, do they continue this? Do they cultivate the habit of defensive driving and safe driving?
No.
Unfortunately, that's the thing, not the case.
I mean, if that's the question that you're asking, what we need to do to bridge the gap, surely that's what enforcement is there for. But it's not working.
Enforcement.
Enforcement. That's why you have red light cameras to catch people who don't respect the red light. That's why you have speed cameras to catch people who don't respect
Has
the
that
speed
been
limit.
effective?
But do they actually work? Are
Yeah.
they actually operational? I very seldom see a flash I think on the ECP, though I've seen many speeding cars, and we're talking really speeding cars, I've only seen that camera flash once in all the years that it's been there at Benjamin Shears Bridge. So, how many people is it there as a kind of a threat? You might get caught in the camera, and some people will slow down, or is it not working at all?
I think it works. It does work because
You're being caught, right?
no, my brother, was driving my car. So I take Lonnie Road every day to work, and Lonnie Road there's this overhead bridge. They always
Have the police.
have the police, and
Which one? Tell me.
Lonnie Road,
On the left
at
is
the
the
road.
Japanese
Right.
Association, whatever.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Way before
And it
that,
actually says speed trap. It tells you there's a speed
Yeah.
trap.
Okay.
I think the government's very nice to tell you that there are speed
No, but
check
yes.
roads.
But that's their intention to have a
Surely
good road sense
prevention is
rather
better
than
than
catch
cure. They'd
people.
rather you
Yes.
didn't speed than they
I-
catch you speeding.
I
Yeah.
realize I find myself slowing down when I approach that particular
And
place.
speeding in all other places.
No, and so I realize like I will be more conscious of what speed I drive, or just because I know that there will be a camera there, even though there may not be a camera. So, and my brother has been caught quite a few times on that road. So
Okay.
But that's an interesting question, because you don't want, there's sort of the collective consciousness, and there's some disagreement in the room about the courteousness and the safety of the collective driving consciousness of Singapore. One of the levers I think that the government could push would be more enforcement, but then do you want to be an enforcement-driven society?
Doesn't bother me.
That's, do you want to go down
That's
that
a
path?
good point.
As an alternative, you see in Italy and some places in the UK, they have little smiley faces, and if you're within the speed limit, they smile at you as you go past a certain point. Or other places, they will tell you what speed you're doing, and if it's above the limit, they say slow down.
You
And
mean
I-
without
Without
finding
finding
you?
No, without finding
Right,
you, exactly.
right.
You see it a lot in
Just
villages and things, but also in towns I've seen it. And I think it's wonderful. And apparently I read some statistics somewhere which says it really works. People respond to those things, the smiley face, you're doing the limit, like that.
That calls for a totally different philosophical approach to law enforcement on the road.
Actually,
Yeah.
if we're proposing radical ideas, maybe this is the problem. That all Singaporeans think other Singaporeans are terrible drivers. And so they go, oh, I better be, not properly defensive driver, but thinking I better, protect myself. If somebody indicates, or no, if I shouldn't indicate because then they won't let me in. And some people, I don't know, I mean, maybe that's what it is. If everybody says that, everybody that I've spoken to, no one has said, oh, Singaporeans are great drivers.
But I read there was a survey once about what kind of driver do you think you are? Am I a poor driver, a good driver, an above average driver, or an excellent driver? And this was in the U.S. and most people
Everyone
said
thinks they're above average.
above average.
Yeah.
Right. So everyone, at least in the U.S. at this time, felt that he or she had better driving skills than most everybody
I
else
think
out
that
there.
there's kind of two different. I mean, you can be a law-abiding driver without necessarily being a very skilled driver. In which case, you probably won't get into an accident. You could be a very skilled driver, but not very law-abiding. You could disrespect the speed limit and end up crashing your Ferrari. So it's a combination of things. But I think we should go with the smiley
But
face.
I like the
Yeah.
smiley face idea, and I think we're going to try to see whether we can get a clip of that or something.